Hey guys, and you know what time it is. It's time for another Santa video. Now this week, one of our loyal watchers happened to send me a Santa cartoon. I kind of like it. Do you think it looks like me? I don't know, check it out. I don't smoke cigars. Also, what I would do is, if any of you want to help redesign this, what I need to be doing is holding like a Colt or Luger or a Walther. This guy's holding a machine gun. But thank you to our viewers for showing so much interest in our Gun Santa videos. Hey, let's jump right into some rifles. This week, you know from the thumbnail, I have a bunch of rifles. I have them lined up. Remember my radiator, AKA rifle rack? I got a bunch of K98s. And I'm going to go over some K98s. Now, that's not something I've ever dealt with before in terms of, I did one video and I'll show you a little bit of that. And then on the floor, you can also see I got a few guns and a few accessories. So let's jump right in and see if we can keep this to about a half an hour. So K98 rifles, as the name would imply, carbiner, K98, the patent date was from 1898. This is actually a World War I. It is dated, I'll bring that over. You can see that it's dated 1917. And you've got the maker there, bolt action rifle. So this is a World War I. And what I wanted to show you is they really didn't change between World War I and World War II. They generally didn't change. These obviously will have some Nazi markings on them. World War I's probably sell for just a little bit less just because of popularity. There's fewer of the World War I's that are in original condition. And there are a lot more Nazi guns, but a lot of them are not in original condition, and let me explain that. So first and foremost, if you are going to collect K98s, and I don't generally, I do have a couple, I'll actually show you one that I own. I generally don't collect K98s. They actually take up too much room in the safe. Pistols are a lot smaller. But if you collect them, there's three categories of K98s that you might want to consider in terms of World War II. First and foremost, you see here pictures of surrendered K98s. There's a pile of rifles and a pile of bolts. And what we know is when the Germans surrendered en masse, and you can see there were lines of 100,000 soldiers surrendering all at one time. But generally they were instructed to throw your rifle here and throw your bolt over here. And so after the war, they sold a lot of surplus rifles actually to third world countries, South America and other places throughout the world. It was a well thought of bolt action rifle, very reliable and very accurate. So after the war they were sold to other countries, but the vast majority of those came with, surprise, surprise, mismatched bolts. So you do see the category of rifles that had mismatched bolts because they were separated at the end of the war, resold, and when they came back to the United States, they added import marks. Now, the import marks, often you will find the import mark right along the bottom of the barrel. These are not import marked. There's actually a company that took a lot of those from other countries, Mitchell's Mausers. Some of you, we've sold some of those. Not advertising for them. I just noticed that I see their rifles from time to time. They sanded the stocks, they refinished things, they put an import mark on them, and they sold them. And you can find those for anywhere from $800 to $1,200. They look really good, but they are great for beginning collectors or reenactors. We find when we sell them, those are the people who tend to like them. The second category you'll find is one like these. All of the ones that we showed along the radiator here. These are in the second category, which is these are all matching guns. They have different makers. I'm going to come closer. And you'll see this one, for example, is BNZ. And you also see the 4, which means it was made in 1944. And you really can't see the numbers very well, but you'll take my word for it. They're numbered here, and the bolt, the most important part is the bolt matches the gun. These are not import marked. They are all matching, so it's much more likely that these were brought home by GIs. Now some of these, this one does not look sanded very much, but some of the stocks, when the GIs brought them home, they freshened them up a little bit. They might have sanded them down and then put a lacquer of shellac or some kind of polyurethane coating. So you want to watch out for that. This is an original sling. So this is not a pristine gun, but something like this is these are gonna be more like $1,500 to $2,000, maybe $2,200 depending on condition. So this is the second level of gun. And let's talk a little bit about the markings. So the BNZ is a factory code. We know from other videos, Radom, the Viz, from the Radom factory, that many of those went to the BNZ factory, which is actually in Austria. It has a Waffen-proof that corresponds to the factory, the BNZ factory in Austria. And we have a number of other makers. Let's take a look at a few others. Here's a second rifle. Now this one will be a little more recognizable. Here the maker is BYF, which is, we know, is the Mauser factory. We know there's BYF Lugers, BYF P38s, and also BYF K98s. So this was made by Mauser. The Waffen stamp is going to tend to be 655 or 135, which is the inspector stamp. This one was made in 43, so it's likely going to be 135. This is all matching. So that, again, you want to look at the finish. This looks all original. You don't want it to look too bright. Here, let me show you one. See, this one, I wasn't even going to show you, but as a good comparison, see that's been re-blued. And so when you're looking for one, you want to make sure collectability, if you just want a shooter, and these make great shooters, they're very accurate. And as I said, they're very reliable. You can see the dark finish. Look at the bottom plate. See, the dark finish that's a refinished gun, whereas this one you want to see some wear. And this one you do see wear. Also on the metered sight, you can see the difference, how that one has been re-blued and this one has a lot of wear from using the sight. So that's what you want to look for. In terms of sanding, let me show you something else you want to look for. This is a Waffen stamp they're often very lightly stamped, but hopefully you can see it right there. Now underneath it will be a letter. We'll find one with a letter. The vast majority of them will have a Waffen stamp, and H, which is Heer, H-E-E-R, means it was issued to the Army. L underneath there would mean it was issued to the Luftwaffe. They're a lot more rare. And then M means it was issued to the Kriegsmarine or Navy. This one is very, very light. Maybe that was light strike, and maybe it has been lightly sanded, but you do want to look for that. So again, you want to make sure it's Waffen stamped, that the bolt is matching, original finish, and then you're talking about a $1,500 to $2,000 K98. This one has an original strap. All right, here's the next one. This one is dated 1940, and we see the factory code, which is 237. And no idea what that factory code is, but we're about to find out because I'm going to offer you a nice little resource. So this one, the bolt is matching to the gun, but taking a quick look at that stock, I can tell right away that it's been sanded. Again, it just has the look. A lot of times this will start to be rounded. You'll see a little more grained, and good reason for it to be sanded. They probably had nicks and dents all over. Somebody brought this home, and the vet sanded it down a little bit and thought, wow, I just spruced up my gun, but in fact, he hurt some of the collector value. But even though he sanded it, let's take a look right here where the Waffen stamp would be. The Waffen stamp, I really don't see, but can you see an H there? So there's just a little bit left. So in describing this gun, again, from 1940, I'd say all original finish. I would give the name of the factory, which we're going to look up. And I would say the stock is lightly sanded, but otherwise in all original condition. Okay, here's the part of the video that I love the most. Hopefully you do too. I'm going to send you this resource. This actually, from what I can tell, somebody gave it to me a long time ago. And it is from a K98 forum on the internet. And these are available for free. Again, as we've said before, I give you worksheets that you can, we're going to send them to you. All you have to do is email us and say you want the K98 database. K98 database, email Legacy Collectibles. We will scan this over to you. Now, it's almost impossible to read. I can barely read it and I have it in my hand, but the good thing about the scan is you can focus in and get all this tiny little data, but this is the most important part. This is the, it's on his side, it has the manufacturer's name and then the date. So, and then we can see here when in 1945 when the Russians took over the factory or when the factory was captured, 1945. So here's the codes, and in this little corner here, they'll tell how many were made. So you get the production numbers, you get the codes. Now remember, I said BYF was from Mauser, and in fact, on the top line, you do see the Mauser factory in Obendorf, and you go across and you can see how the factory code changed. But in 1941, it changed to BYF 41, just like the Lugers, by the way. So just like the Lugers, it changed to BYF. You can see the production numbers all the way up to 1945. Now, the one that I didn't know was 237. And right here, I see S237. The factory was a Berliner Lübecker, never even heard of them, but there's the factory code. A pretty rare maker, and often the rare makers will bring a little bit more money. So you can see here, these are all the manufacturers, and there's quite a few of them, and then it goes by year. And this is yours for free. Just email us and say, send me the K98 factory codes database or whatever you want to call it, and we'll send that over to you. Isn't that great? It's great watching this channel, great resources. As I go through each one of these rifles, they're all maker marked and dated. There's another BYF, this is a 41. Let me just point out a few unusual ones. Now, what about, so I also already mentioned the lowest end, then the medium end, but what about the best of the best? Now, this one did not come, these are special. The rest of the ones I want to show you are special in some way. This did not come with these guns. This came out of my collection. I told you I don't collect them, but I did keep this one. This happens to be a G-date, and this is where you hear about K98 selling for $3,500, $4,500, you know, well up to $5,000. Sometimes that's rare makers, but in this case, this is made by Mauser. The code is S42. So if you know Lugers, you know that the early Lugers, the K date and the G date and the 36, 37, were the code was S42, and this is a G date. So this is from 1935, and you see the condition of the metal. This is all matching. Look at the condition of this barrel. You guys like to look at beautiful guns. And every part will be numbered on these early guns. Let's even look at the screw. Take a look at the floor plate is numbered. Even this screw has the last 2 digits of the serial number on it. This little bolt has a, I think that's a proof mark on it. The butt plate, you can see the full serial number, and just the condition of this gun is remarkable. So this is then the third level of collecting, is these high-end collections. And you can see here, now look how crisp and clean that is. Hardly worn at all. You do see the H, and you see the military Waffen stamps. So this is an example. One other thing. If you look at the stock, it is also numbered to the gun. And it's again, Waffen stamp numbered to the gun. There's one other place that all of these should be numbered. As I look at all of these guns, if you go to the handguard at the top, check out the handguard. Let me show you, I'm not going to demonstrate it because it's actually kind of a pain in the neck. One thing about like the M1 carbine, I can pop the handguard off pretty easily. Here, what I do is I wrap a cloth around this. You can't do it by hand. Remember my oily cloth? This has actually appeared in several videos. It's a frequent flyer on my videos. I wrap this in a cloth. I take a vice grip and I push this lever down with a vice grip. You can use a pair of pliers, obviously. Vice grip pushes that in, and then this pops up. Once that pops up, then you can pull this up. This little lever comes out. You pull this up. This handguard comes off. And inside the channel will be the serial number to the gun. So a lot of these that are not numbered on the stock, they are numbered on the channel, and then oftentimes they are also numbered inside. So you really, to see if the stock is matching, it's a little bit of a pain in the neck. Other than the earlier ones, they're numbered on the exterior. Most of them you have to get a good look inside, and if we do, we will see that the handguard is numbered to the gun. Okay, this is 2-in-1 again. I'm holding two. A couple of things I haven't pointed out yet. These should have cleaning rods. They unscrew and pull out. They should come with a screening rod. Again, at the very end of the war, they were skipping that step and they just didn't even bother with it. Also, most of them, this one has a muzzle cover. Fairly hard to find. None of the other ones have a muzzle cover, but what they do have is a sight cover. So let me just show you a sight cover. See the top? That's just a sight cover, and it makes for sighting. It just makes it easier to view the front sight. So the sight cover, sometimes they're missing because they do pop off. You can see this one, this sight cover popped off, and this one put a muzzle cover on it. This is also unusual in that both of these guns, you're going to have to come look at my lap. Hey, come and sit on Santa's lap. These two are marked DRP. Now, that means that pretty early, and I'll tell you how early. This one is dated 1934. Look at the condition of the finish, by the way. You'll see that this is Mauser banner. So there's no code on here, so this was not made for the military. The Mauser banner, just like Lugers, if you get a Mauser banner, then you know it's a commercial Luger. And 1934, we know, was pretty early. Hitler had come to power, but really the Nazis were just coming into full power in 1934. And this one, DRP, stands for the basically German Postal Service. Where have you seen DRP before? Of course, when we've talked about PPKs, here's a picture of a PPK with the same DRP marking. This has an original stock. The wood is very different. This is kind of a blonde color, and this is probably more of a walnut or cherry. You can see this one is also DRP marked. A little bit blurred, but you can see the two markings. This is a repro sling. If you take a look at the two slings, you can tell right away, but these are very popular repro slings. You can see this one is maker marked. That's kind of unusual. The repros will just look real dark like that. And these like checkered marks, these are signs of a repro. This probably had checker marks that should actually be worn away. Yeah, you can see it better on this side. You can see the checkering. I've used the illustration before that when leather was stamped, after a while, just like the rug of your carpet when you leave a sofa or a table, the legs will make an indentation. When you take them away over a period of time, and it can be up to a year, the pile will just begin to raise and go back to its former shape. That's what happens with these. So these checkering should not be that clear, and that's the best way to spot a repro. I mentioned this one was 34. This one is 33, which is the year that Hitler first came to power. So why in the world would Germany be making rifles for the post office? So this is my opportunity to, as a sidebar, do a little bit of a history lesson. And some of this history is vague, and some of you, especially historians, if you want to correct me or clarify respectfully, please, I want to hear your comments on this, because I always wondered, and there's quite a bit of these, well, I'll back up. These are pretty rare, but it's not all that rare to find DRP marked rifles. I even had a MP35, which is a submachine gun with the same DRP marking on it, and that really confused the heck out of me. And then I was watching on Netflix, there was a series, it was called, I think, Babylon Berlin. I know that's not a great place to get history, but that was between the wars. Hitler was coming to power. Germany was restricted from building weapons for their army. In fact, they were not allowed to make any more military weapons, and they were limited as to how many police weapons they could order. So the way they got around it was, where else would you go? For every town and village has a post office, and it's federally owned. And so from what I can tell from history, And what I saw in this film, there was actually the police were going after a big racket, and they knew they had heavy arms, kind of like we would bring in SWAT today. If they know they were going into an armed situation, they'd bring in SWAT. What happened was they were going to go into this. It was a printing press that was putting out communist propaganda, and they knew that they were heavily armed. So they called the local post office and said, "Hey, militia, we need you guys." They all ran. They got their submachine guns, their rifles, their pistols. So the German post office was fully armed and ready for a militia should it be needed. Now, I hope that makes sense to you. If you think about it a little while and you're thinking, well, the police are restricted. The police have been defunded. The military has been defunded. So why don't we arm the post office? And again, every town and village has a post office, and they were fully armed, down to submachine guns. Later on, I think the SA took over that job where each district would have an SA group, and they kind of became the paramilitary force. But it's my contention, at least in 1933 and 1934, these post office rifles, pistols, and machine guns went to militia within the post office. Pretty interesting. Okay, there's a lot more rifles there, but actually each one of them is just a different maker, a different date. I do want to show you one other rifle, and actually 1 year ago, I started this channel. About a year ago, I started this channel, and at that time, I had this K98 come in. Check it out. I did a video on it, and I thought, well, I'll go ahead and sell it because I'm sure I'll find another one. And I have never, in years gone by, and I've had probably 1,000 rifles go through here, never seen another one like it. But let's watch just a portion of this K98. This is not a exciting deal when it walks in the door, other than the fact that it's in phenomenal condition. This one is dated 1940. It has a Mauser code on it. The 42 is a Mauser code, comes with an original sling. The first accessory that this one has that I rarely see, and I'm going to talk a lot about throwaways. This is a muzzle cover, and it's I also would consider it a throwaway. Here's why. It's pretty hard. It keeps the mud and dirt from getting in there. It's kind of hard to take off. Covers the muzzle, push down, it's spring loaded, go over and off. So that's a pretty rare item. This is an action cover. It has the Waffen proofs, which just means it was inspected for the Army, found to be of decent quality. The action cover, it took me a long time to get this on. So it covers the action. Keeps the mud and the rain away. If you're in the Russian front, keeps the snow away. But it doesn't keep the Russians away because they'll nail you. It comes with a grenade launcher. I've seen the grenade launchers before, and honestly, I didn't even know how they worked. So here's what I learned. So the grenade launcher goes right on top. It opens up here. You can see how it fits over the muzzle, and then you just lock it on down. The sling gets in the way a little bit, so you want to move that out of the way. We're going to pop this on the top here. Screw it. Okay, and then we tighten this down, and the rangefinder is on the rifle along with the grenade launcher. Yeah, I have to tell you, I'm a little bit nostalgic for that gun. It came in the door and sold immediately. I hope whoever has it, if you decide to part with it, sell it back to Legacy Collectibles. So that's an overview. I went over the prices, the 3 levels, but I also want to talk about collectability. The most collectible are just like many other guns, P38s and PPKs, and a lot of the guns, the really early ones, and so like that either a K date or a G date, K98 are extremely valuable, extremely collectible. But so other than the early ones, the other ones that are super popular are the ones at the very end of the war. So 1945, and we sold a few of these, and these can be, I mean, I've sold them in the 5,000 range. I've seen them up in the $15,000 range. But at the end, the People's Army, I think of Volksgewehr, VG, the VG1, and actually there is a VG K98. We'll just show you one that we sold before. This is a last-ditch gun. All the bells and whistles are gone. They're very crudely made, and the cruder the better. These actually are very collectible and sell for a lot of money. This gun actually looks like something you could have made in your basement. Okay, enough K98s. Let me do some accessories. Again, out of the United States, if people can't buy the pistols, I want to make sure I show you some things that came in. This in particular, this is just, it takes my breath away. Look at the back end. This is a police style luger holster. I've gone over lugers. I talked about the police style. For whatever reason, the police prefer this style. This is the military style where the closing strap goes to the side. And this one is police style. I also wanted to show you a police eagle versus a military eagle. They're slightly different. As we look at the back of this, and let's get a close-up, here is the military Waffen stamp. And you know the maker code if you look up, if you Google it and you look up the Waffen stamp, it'll tell you where it's made. But even better, you can just read the just read the label. A lot of them, there's a code there. And then they're usually dated. In this instance, it's actually underneath the belt loop. As you can see, 1938. Now, I mostly am showing you that because I wanted you to, so this police holster, which, again, you just never see them like this. And this is, 80 years old. This is, you can see the date. And check out, that's a police eagle. Now, I know the difference right away. Some of you are like, you don't get it, but it's just got a stubbier. If you look at the Waffen eagle and then look at the police eagle, it actually, I believe, has a B on its chest. I'm not sure why, but the police eagle has stubbier wings, and it has a B on its chest, and it's not a Waffen stamp. It's a police Nazi eagle. Now, one more thing I wanted you to see on this one. And again, I'm really sorry to tell you guys, but I think I have to keep this one. I can't sell it. Check out the inside. It's like a brand new pair of shoes, isn't it? Except it smells old. And that's one way to tell. It shouldn't smell like a new pair of shoes. It smells like a locker room, and that's exactly what how it should smell. Here's two medals. I'm not going to put them on, but most of you know this right away as a Mother's Cross. I'm not sure how many babies they had. Was it 5? You got a Mother's Cross if you had, they were trying to repopulate the earth. Obviously, after the war, they felt like they had to repopulate, and so they were encouraging mothers to have babies. And this was an award, an original award given to mothers. Don't quote me, I think 5 babies, and I'm sure somebody will comment on that. This is from December. Let's check out the back. December of 1938, just like that holster in 1938. Maybe we should put them together. And the most interesting part of this is that's Adolf Hitler's signature. Of course, it's not, he didn't sign it, but that's a replication of Adolf Hitler's signature on this Mother's Cross. Kind of cool. And this just happens to be the best wound badge I've ever seen. So here's the maker. Remember I did the video and I talked about the gold wound badge? That was Kurt Assmann. This one is not made by Assmann, who did actually make, he did make medals. Not made by Assmann and not given to Assmann, but this is probably never issued. The best condition wound badge I've ever seen. And then there's a little write-up about it, which I can't read. Somebody from Germany basically will say this is awarded for somebody who was wounded in battle. And this is the lowest level. There is the black wound badge. Then there's a silver and a gold wound badge. Now this is a badge for somebody out there who loves to correct me. Here's your opportunity, because I don't know what this is for. I've seen these before, and I don't collect medals. Obviously, medals are heavily faked. These, I'm sure, are all original. I don't know if I know this one is in a gold plated, and this one it might be a bronze. I'm not sure. And there's somebody's initials. So in the comments, you can tell me what it is. I could Google it, but I'd rather hear from you. 2 other items that just kind of freak me out a little bit. I just think they're funny. Never seen this before. I don't know if this is real or not, but everybody's looking for buried Nazi gold. We found buried Nazi silver. So this is a silver ignet. Is that the right word? Ignet. This is a silver bar it looks very official. You guys can let me know, is this real? I mean, did they really make silver bars like this? Or is this just something post-war? It was given to us, so it doesn't really matter what the value is. And then this, I've never seen this before, but it looks like a lipstick tube. If you look at the bottom, you do see a Waffen stamp. Now, I don't think that's fake, and we had some cigarettes that actually had Waffen stamps issued to the Army. This was issued to the Army. It is a lighter. It needs to be filled. Lighter, I don't know anything about these. I've never seen one before, so again, feel free to comment. But these are just little things that I've never seen before, and I thought they were pretty cool. Made me smile. Okay, one more item that I need your help with. This is obviously a box, and because of this marking, maybe it's a cigar box. I know for one thing it is not a pistol box, and there's two Walthers in here. I'm not going to let you see them because I'm going to do a separate video, so you have to stay tuned for the surprise. There are two Walthers in here, so break away. So you didn't get to see it. Again, stay tuned. I'm going to do a video on those Walthers. And again, I think this is a cigar box, but let's check inside. I do see Hamburg. But here's what I really wanted help with. This looks like a, you know, we had the table runner from Tunis. This is also a table runner, but it's obviously for a funeral. And I don't recognize this. So I don't know what that says other than Der Führer, so the leader of something, and it's SS. So if somebody helps me out, I would appreciate it. Very cool. If you have interest in this, let us know. And then the other one, again, a table runner for a funeral. Maybe they go across the casket. That would make sense. And this is to our dead comrade, I believe. So this is probably important to somebody, and it came our way. And if you'd help us out, that would be great. Just some interesting little accessories that came across. It's just like Forrest Gump's box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Hey, I'm not done. I have some pistols. Don't go away. This is probably the best for last. Okay, I have two pistols here. Both of them are PPs. They're very similar, and yet they're very different. I'm going to actually start with this one because this is an SSPP. The holster, actually SSPP should be in a black holster. I would probably put this was dyed, it was brown, dyed black, not a great holster, so let's just forget the holster. But it is in the SS range. I do have serial numbers for the SS guns, but most importantly, before 250,000, numbered on the slide and the frame in that serial range is an SS gun. And that is documented. It's not factory records, but it is from the SS records. Now, it would have come with two matching magazines. And this one actually does not have a matching magazine, but it has one in a similar range. So this is an SS contract PP with an SS magazine, but not matching. So I just want to make sure that's clear. Now, the next gun I want to show you, a lot of people confuse with an SS gun. This is a PP. Now, this holster is exactly right for this gun. It is ACA marked and DRGM, and it has the ACA logo. Now, right off the bat, you can see that it is frame marked and slide marked. And so a lot of people would say this is an SS gun. I'm actually going to do an entire video just on this variation because here's what's different. First of all, it's numbered 1940, not numbered, it's dated 1940. And if you study these markings, well, let's study this a little bit. This was done post-factory because the number is stamped over the blue. On this one, this is factory. This marking is post-factory. You can see where after the metal is hardened and the bluing is on it, when you stamp it in there, it does, it raises the metal for one thing, and it makes that little halo effect around the finish. So this one you can see the way it was applied was done at the factory. This was done post-factory, much like the police guns. When the police guns were numbered, and let's take a look at the numbered mag, because this does have a numbered mag. When the police guns were numbered, oftentimes they left little dents in the metal, whereas the factory ordered mags, That's a factory ordered mag as opposed to a police ordered mag. So this PP that is dated 1940, spoiler alert, I am going to do a whole separate video because I have a good number of these. There is a whole serial range of guns that are similarly configured that come in holsters that are marked for the railway police. So this is basically the railroad police in Stuttgart of 1940. So these are not SS guns. They are police guns, but they are police that were issued to patrol the railways. And they also handle a lot of immigration, people coming in and out. They handle a lot of customs for anybody traveling on a train. We've all seen the movies, probably Murder on the Orient Express, where the inspector is going door to door looking for somebody. And in this case, people trying to leave Germany or people trying to get into Germany. They did have their own railway police, and this was a gun that was issued to the railway police in Stuttgart. I tend to show you guns in twos, onesies, twosies. So here's a Walther Model 4. This is actually used in World War I, not this gun, but Model 4s were used in World War I by officers. It's a smaller weapon, obviously, but they made them back during the World War I days, and you never find them in this condition. So I'm just going to get a little bit closer and let you take a look at the bluing on this, and yes, this is all original. Look at the back strap. Look at this side of the gun. You can even see some, we've talked a lot about on these videos, that fire blue. That really, some people call it the niter blue, but that's a fire blue finish, still intact. That's the first thing to go. And then the Walther Legend from the Walther factory. This is probably the best Model 4 I've ever seen. And this design came before the Walther PP, which ended up being their most popular design, the PP and the PPK. This one is marked Made in Germany. And that meant it was just made for commercial use and shipped outside of Germany, so sold in the commercial market outside of Germany and therefore not issued to a German officer. A second one, this is a French gun that was issued to the German military during World War II. And the reason we know that, by the way, it's a French unique. This is a unique gun. Known as a unique, and you can see it comes in 7.65 or 32 caliber. Nice little pistol. We did Astras. If you watched the last video, it was raining Astras. This is not like the Astra in that it is French, and it was occupied, the Germans, when they occupied the factories. But what you'll notice is on the tang, just like the Astras, you can see that Waffen stamp, and it is Waffen 251. And when we did the Astras, we mentioned that the Astra proof mark was 251. So basically the same inspector proof, when it was received by the German army, it was the same inspector proof that was used on the Astra and the Star B and the Unique. And one more comes to mind, and that would be the French MAB pistol. Okay, Gun Santa's not done because we did get a lot of other guns that I didn't even feature in this video. I did want to go over the K98s. As I mentioned, that's new information for most of you, at least in terms of my videos. But I have 3 Lugers left. One of them is a Black Widow, and I've already done a whole video. If you want to look under our playlist, Legacy Collectibles playlist, and search under Black Widow, I talk about these, how it got the name Black Widow. We actually got, I think, about 3 Black Widows in this week. The prices of these have been going through the roof. Actually, most guns have been going up exponentially over this difficult time of political turmoil and also the pandemic turmoil. Gun prices have gone up, but in particular, the Black Widows have continued to go up in value. So we got 2 or 3 of them just this week. And then the last 2 Lugers are somewhat special. This one is a KU Luger, and I wanted to show it to you. When I did the Luger video, again, go to our playlist and look at the Luger video. I go over all the different Luger variations. This one is a 42 code, which is Mauser factory, made in 1941. So 1941, Mauser factory, and you see the KU mark after the serial number. Those of you who watch my videos know that these were Mauser parts put together in the Krieghoff factory. That right there is a Krieghoff proof. So Mauser stopped making Lugers in 1942, and with all the leftover parts, the only company still making Lugers at that time was the Krieghoff factory. So they sent all the parts there, and Krieghoff was still making their own Krieghoffs. On the right side of the receiver, you can see the Krieghoff proof. And just check out the condition of this gun. So again, put together in the Krieghoff factory, Mauser parts. You even see the Black Widow bottom. I'll show you one other thing that's unique about the KU. Most people believe that these went to the Luftwaffe because of the Luftwaffe proof, of course. But again, put together at the end of the war, and therefore pretty valuable because they're pretty rare. Let me show you one other thing that makes this unique. Okay, so here it is. I took a quick break and took the grip off. The KU Luger is the only variation that has the full serial number on both panels of the grip. So there you see the full serial number. If you see a KU, if it has the original grips, it will always have the full serial number on both sides of the grip. The first ones they made also will have the full serial number etched on the bottom, but they stopped doing that pretty quickly because they found it cracked. This is made of Bakelite material, and it cracks it. So most of them will not be numbered. If you see one that has a numbered mag, that's also pretty rare. That is called the KU variation Luger. Okay, one last Luger, and this is actually put together from parts. I've talked about this before, but it just makes it somewhat unique. This is Mauser made in 1939, but actually I'm sure it was not put together in 1939, because if we look at the proof marks, well, you see the 42 right here, which means that it was a factory replacement part. I also see proof marks right here and right here that are imperial. They're imperial German proof marks. They're actually a Crown D. I believe they're all Crown D, and interior parts are Crown proofs from the Imperial German Army. So again, the DWM parts went to Mauser, went to Krieghoff. I don't think this was put together by Krieghoff, but at the end of the war, it was put together by parts. And I've already mentioned before that a lot of the 42 parts were armor replacements, and they were putting together guns just from armor replacement parts. The magazine, in fact, is blank, and you can see the condition of the gun is very nice. I'm not sure when this was put together, but definitely late war, leftover parts from at least, from what I can see, at least 3 different factories. So on the barrel, at the bottom, instead of the serial number, it says S42. And we remember S42, of course, is the Mauser factory, but it's a replacement barrel. No serial number, but rather S42, which is a factory code. And right here, you'll never see it, but you'll probably, I mean, I need a magnifying glass. It actually has a stamp that would be to a K date or a G date. So this is a very early replacement barrel with DWM parts, Mauser parts, put together sometime in the late war period, blank magazine. So there you have it. Some very unique guns, just some of the things that came in this week. So stay tuned, because every week we have more guns coming in. And if you're interested in any of these items, check them out at our website, legacy-collectibles.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.